Good afternoon, everyone. I've got a little bit of video to start us off today, both of Pierre Poilievre and finances. We're going to look at finances. We're going to look at a lot of stuff, but we're going to start out with finances. Here we go.
So we're now 7 months into the fiscal year, and we don't know the deficit. We don't know the spending levels. We haven't had a budget in a record 18 months. We don't know the date of a fiscal update. We haven't seen the mandate letter of the Minister of Finance. It looks like the finances of the nation are spiraling completely out of control. Now, the government will make the excuse that we're in a pandemic, but the pandemic lockdown started in March. This is over a half year has gone by, and it appears the government has lost complete control of the finances of the nation, which will not only spook taxpayers and businesses, but also financial markets on whom we rely. We're now talking about hundreds of billions of dollars of spending, and since Minister Freeland took office, those reports have ended. You wonder why it is that Bill Morneau was able to publish a report every 2 weeks, but Chrystia Freeland cannot.
Because Bill Morneau was mildly competent, whereas Chrystia Freeland isn't. There you go. Here is the House of Commons, and the questions go back and forth. I'm going to start it here. No, we're going to listen to the whole thing. We're going to listen to the whole thing because it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile. They don't have a handle on this. They don't know what they're doing. And the longer this goes on, the more apparent it is that they don't know what they're doing and they have no handle on this.
What is the dollar value of the national debt as of today?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to offer new projections, but let me remind you that in the fiscal snapshot, the deficit...
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
What's the debt?
The Honourable Minister.
$343.2 billion. That was as of the fiscal snapshot. No new numbers tonight.
The Honourable Member.
Clarify for the Finance Minister, there's a difference between debt and deficits. I asked for the debt. Are you sure the debt, is she sure the debt is just 300 and some odd billion?
Honourable Minister.
And I want to be clear with members, I'm going to refer to numbers from the snapshot, not new numbers tonight. And I'll tell you with the next question.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Does she know the debt?
The Honourable Minister.
It was projected in the fiscal snapshot to be 1.1 trillion 60 billion.
Honourable Member.
I think that number's hard for any of us to say, in fairness.
Could you say this number? Ooh, that's a really big number. What, 1 trillion? The Finance Minister! One of the first, maybe like the first things you would do to remove people who shouldn't be the Finance Minister is to give them a really big number and ask them to say it. Could you say this number? What does that mean to you? How much money do you think that is? Could you give that to me in aircraft carriers? No? It's just so maddening, right? Like it's very, very frustrating having to watch your little brother play Mario Kart, right? And you're like, oh, I can do that, but no, okay, but even like watch your country flounder in whatever Hades we happen to be floundering in currently. And the mom head tilt, I sure do. I'll let you know in just a second. And the smile, no new numbers tonight, you guys. I know you're looking for new numbers, but not today. My handlers told me that I couldn't share the numbers with you because you'd be upset. CTV News is reporting. Moving on from federal to provincial. This is Ontario. I'm not going to go too deep on this. Highlights from the Ontario pandemic era budget. We have a lot of expenses. It's a $30 billion pandemic-related spending on $187 billion in expenses and $38.5 billion deficit. Right? That's a big deficit for Ontario. It's big. It's actually not as big as I thought. It's not like what the federal government did. Just like, send a whole bunch of money and not account for any of it. There's some targeted spending here. It looks like a liberal budget. Honestly, it looks like a liberal budget. The targeted spending, the seniors, all that other stuff. It looks like a liberal budget. The lockdown pain has been unilaterally imposed on us by the government. It has nothing to do with consumers being afraid. If people were afraid, they wouldn't go to Walmart or any of the big box stores that have been allowed to continue to open, right? People aren't afraid. They're just not allowed to open their businesses. And there are people who've bought into this and are upset at people for masks. There's a whole big list of regions in Ontario that are in the green section. The green section does not include a repeal of the mandatory masks. What do they want? What do they want? What are they expecting? People to wear masks for the rest of their lives? Sorry, guys, absolutely not. You can get bent. And your liberal budget? Well, I hope it gets you a liberal van to fit your caucus in. Get lost. Get lost. I'm sick and tired of lying politicians. And I guess that's all I cover. But honestly, sick and tired of lying liars. And every single one of these people are lying liars. I don't believe any of them. Not one. Here's a Blacklock's reporter, and they say Commissioner of Elections Canada confirms government-funded Muslim voting guide broke the law, but buries his investigation. That's another reason why I say lying liars. You say the political classes, the people who are ruling us, inhabit the moral high ground. We wouldn't cheat. We couldn't possibly cheat. Cheating is beyond the pale. Nobody could possibly do that. But then they blatantly cheat. They get caught at cheating. They say, oh, that's politics, though. Sorry. The damage is done. Right? The division is done. The mistrust is sowed. It's bearing fruit already. There's nothing to do but to count their chickens because they've hatched and they're having their own eggs now, right? Like there's all sorts of benefit to what they've done, and nobody's going to be held accountable. And so there's no deterrent to do it more or do it again, right? And they will do it more and they will do it again because it creates division, and the current system that we're in demands the continued division of people. Anti-racism is segregation by another name, and they're using it to I'm not sure, but it is they're using it to divide, to drive division, to continue this push that there is division to be sown, right? And they're using absolutely every tool in the toolbox, and anti-racism is one of them, and it's ridiculous. But nobody's going to be held accountable. Nothing's going to happen. Here's some examples of Elections Canada. It says, this is National News Watch, and it says Elections Canada says its system protects Canadian voters from US-style drama. Sure it does. This is, I don't know, some Twitter account that says, really, did Elections Canada just not long ago make a statement that they discovered so far 3,500 votes that were not from people with Canadian citizenship? Let me answer. Yes, they did. Liberals and Democrats only win when cheating. Here's Elections Canada probing thousands of 2019 election ballots with unclear evidence of citizenship. And it says that, don't worry, it wasn't too widespread. So, it didn't really infect anything. Everything was exactly the way it should have been. After watching the U.S. election, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. After watching the U.S. election, I don't believe it. I have even less faith in our elections after watching what happened with the U.S. elections. Because, as I've said before, you don't need to... Most of the polls are going to be not corrupt because most of the polls don't matter. But there's a couple of places where they really do matter. And in those places, did those polls get changed? Who knows? And we're never going to know, right? That's the unfortunate thing, especially if they're downplaying this, right? Like, oh, well, mistakes happen, I guess. 2019, this is another one, concerns about non-citizens getting voter cards in the mail. This is election fraud. Fraud. It's a joke of a system. We're being fleeced to believe that we have a say when we don't at all. Nothing. No say. You can't even tell the people that are being... You can't even hold accountable school board trustees and senior management for being blatantly racist in this climate. Seriously, you can't. No way, no how, not going to happen. Right? Totally fraudulent election. Anyway, here's... Okay, Evan Solomon. This is just funny. Evan Solomon says, this is extraordinary as a president is alleging the entire American election is rigged and these key states are fraudulent. This is gasoline on a fire. This is going to be a massive fight. So he misspells in the quote he attributes to the president, I think. An election is stolen. It's shocking that there's no evidence of what Trump is saying. No evidence of what Trump is saying? Are you kidding, Evan? Not evident. And, well, hold on. I'll show you. Here's one little bit of evidence that what Evan is saying is complete bunk, right? Here's Gateway Pundit is publishing. I can't believe what I'm seeing. This is a coup. Registered Democrat and poll watcher details corruption at Philadelphia Accounting Center. And there's a whole article. I'm not going to go through it, but there's many articles talking about the corruption in this current American election. So this got a big backlash on Evan's, I mean, look at the ratio, but on Evan's feed, and somebody said, you are the enemy of the people. The media is the enemy of the people. You're the enemy of the people, Evan. And Evan responded to that, and he said, I'm sincerely asking you to reflect on using the phrase enemy of the people and calling journalists the enemy. It has a dark and dangerous totalitarian history that I hope you don't support. Freedom to disagree is a key part of our democracy without this demonization. Yeah, but you're definitely, absolutely ignoring all the video evidence of voter fraud. And it's not just a little bit of evidence. It's not like 10 or 12 votes. 6 or 7 democratically controlled states are flipping the presidency as we speak. And do I think that Trump is going to litigate this? Yeah, I think it's going to end up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will decide who the next president is based on the rampant voter fraud that's going on. And denying that is denying your lying eyes, right? Like, don't believe your lying eyes, citizen. You watching those ballots be harvested and watching those totals climb up from who knows where, ballots that came from who knows where, is not appropriate. Believing the lies is not a duty of citizenship. Believing the news media's lies is not a duty of citizenship. And he's trying to say, I'm engaging fairly and trying to, bring you the news, but that's not true, Evan. That's not true at all, right? This is absolute bunk. This is absolutely garbage. It's shocking. There's no solid evidence of what Trump is saying. No solid evidence. Okay. What do you call those videos? Are those conjecture? Like, what do you call that? What do you call video evidence? Catching people wearing Biden-Harris things on their face masks on, and having posted election signs. It's blatantly illegal. That is election fraud. That is election fraud as defined by their own act, their own election act. I don't know how he can believe that what he's saying is based in truth, right? I just don't get it. I just don't get how you can believe your own lies like that. Maybe, I mean, like I continually say, you're not the bad guy in your own story. So maybe he's seen convincing evidence that makes him think that video evidence of voter fraud is not what I think it is. But I have no idea. I guess two people can see the same video and come to different conclusions. But some things you can have your own opinion about, but you don't get your own facts, right? You don't get to say, well, that's not really influencing the election. When, I mean, yeah, you're not allowed to throw a coup against the sitting president of the United States. He's still currently the president of the United States, right? Like, very interesting, right? Moving on from the United States. Well, just to finish off the comment there, I guess, I think Trump will end up victorious. I think that Biden's going to try and declare victory. I think he's going to probably try and do that today. And if he possibly has done that, I've been busy today, so I haven't seen. I've been driving. So if he declares victory, because I think Philadelphia and maybe Arizona, a couple other states flipped for him, then again, it's all contested to recounts in the Supreme Court. So will we have the actual winner in the short term? I think Trump was trying to say by Friday. It's Friday, so I'm not holding my breath for today, but could it be by next Friday? Possibly. I've seen some pundits say that there's been instances where the Supreme Court has turned around and been able to offer a quick decision. But at the same time, this is going to take time. People are already losing their minds, right? And just they're litigating everything, the counting, etc. And why would they do that? Well, because that's what you would do. Right? Like, that's what you would do in a game that is fair or not fair. If you're within 1% margin, you call the recount, right? Like, you want that recount. You want to make sure everybody's the scrutiny and blah, 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 blah. And you want to make sure that it's every legal vote, because votes cast after Election Day aren't legal. It's that simple, right? So how do you measure that? Do I know if Trump has a plan? We'll see soon, I guess, right? We'll see shortly. I still think if you've got it, time to show it, right? But hey, man, I'm not in that chair, so I'm waiting. Popcorn is being consumed. I'm ready to watch. Let's go. Anyway, back to this, or moving on, I guess. Whole Foods, which is owned by Amazon, grocery chain, bans employees from wearing poppies. In response, Doug Ford says, we will be introducing legislation that prohibits any employer from banning their staff from wearing a poppy during Remembrance Week. Followed up by, we are mandating poppies being worn by employees everywhere for Poppy Week. Randy Hillier says, a must-watch, moving into COVID, a must-watch Clear Talk. Dr. Mike Yeadon debunks the COVID crisis with clear statements. The PCR test is unreliable. Hospitalizations and deaths are based on the PCR tests are misstated. Canada and Ontario are using the same falsehoods as the United Kingdom to promote a falsehood today. Here's just I think I'll share the first minute. It's all worthwhile. He's saying that viruses don't work the way the media is portraying them, and even the Ontario government, their health experts aren't accurately portraying what viruses do with regards to waves. He's saying that the lockdown is, the pandemic is over in the United Kingdom, and that they've reached community immunity, and basically, like, this is crazy. So here we go.
Everything you're being told, every scary fact and prediction from Whitty and Valence, all hangs off the PCR test, which they have admitted they cannot tell what percentage of positives are false and true. Let me say, I'm going to make a strong statement. Everybody should comply with the law. I don't want anyone not to, but that space does not extend to the space between your listeners' ears. I am saying the pandemic is fundamentally over in the UK. I'm more sure of this than ever, and we should not be doing anything. So here's the two reasons. Apart from the illness data and my problems with the test, two other reasons. The theory says so. We now know that loads of people had prior immunity. There's an unbelievable amount of data. Whitty and Vance have ignored it. And then when people are infected and they mostly survive, they become immune. That's not a theory. That's how it works. And so as a result, I believe we are now firmly at community immunity. So that's one thing. Remember, they keep talking about second waves. That's got my hackles up. I'm afraid, dear listener, viruses don't do waves. You must go and look it up. And if I'm right, that means they've made it all up for, I have no idea why. I'm sure they're well-intentioned.
This is the bit that people don't...
Here they go talking about why would they make it up. I haven't looked up the viruses don't do waves, but I have heard T-cell immunity being discussed, community immunity, and basically this is not, you wouldn't expect to see waves upon waves for the same virus. Hence, if you've heard, and I haven't got the link, the mink mutation in Denmark, the big mink culling, and people are saying now it's minks. What happens if they cull like things you eat, like food, pigs or whatever? And I thought, ooh, that's a troubling connection. I don't like that. So that's troubling based on flawed PCR tests. You know what's problematic for me? The problematic thing for me here is Mr. O'Toole is holding the health minister accountable for winding down the pandemic early warning system. These guys are talking about fake PCR tests. These guys are talking about a pandemic early warning system. Can we start talking about like relevant things to get us back to normal? And people are trying to sell us this new normal. Bullshit. Not selling, not sold. Take it back to the store, shove it down the clerk's throat. I want my money back, and kick out everybody who's promoting it. See you guys later. Not a chance. Not a chance. Back to normal. This is BS. Fake test, fake data, fake everything, and our government isn't engaged in this. Aaron O'Toole is controlled opposition at best. At best. The city of Ulmer, have you heard of this? Ulmer, they shut down, they called a state of emergency for the Freedom March on the 7th, and to prevent that from going forward. And here's Andrew Lawton. He says, the people with medical issues are exempt from Ontario's mandatory mask order. The town of Ulmer is asking the province to let them demand proof so they can start targeting those who aren't wearing masks. That's illegal. You can't do that. It's against the charter, against human rights, against common sense, against human decency. Here's Brian Lilly. He says, more on the fight over whether Peel or just Brampton will be forced to stay closed this weekend. The Ford cabinet meets in moments to discuss and decide the fate of thousands of businesses. Just awful. Just awful. And here's where your region is placed in Ontario's tiered shutdown system. So mine's in green, but like restrict is in Eastern Ontario, Ottawa, Peel, York, and then red is in Peel. Peel is in restrict and control. Peel's in 2. That's weird, isn't it? Seems seems odd. I think this stuff is confusing. We had a 3-tiered system, and then they did a modified stage 2, and now we've got this like 5-stage system with colors. And recently, Doug Ford, like when he met with Premier Legault not too long ago, he said, "Oh, Legault said I shouldn't do a color-coded system because it doesn't work." I don't have the link for it right now. I'm sure I could find it. I'm gonna go find it because whatever. Hold on. Here it is. This 680 News one highlights it. It says, in Friday's update, Premier Ford said Quebec Premier Francois Legault told him the system has been confusing in his province, so Ontario is not yet ready to move forward with the system. Yeah, I mean, it's just confusing enough now, right? So we'll just implement another confusing system. Can't wait till next week when they change all the colors around. Oh, you're in green, so that means all lockdown measures except for gloves. Whatever. Back to this. Commons planning new security measures as MP reports threats of violence. Hold on. It's manufactured. Here's the article from CBC. The House of Commons is getting ready to boost security measures for MPs outside of the parliamentary precinct in response to growing concerns about the risk of political violence, sources tell Radio Canada. The move comes after a series of incidents raised red flags with federal elected officials, including an attempt at a sidewalk citizen's arrest of NDP leader Jagmeet Singh in Ottawa in late September, and the case of Corey Huron, a Manitoba man who faces 21 weapons charges and 1 charge of threatening the Prime Minister related to an incident in July at Rideau Hall. Here's that guy who accosted Jagmeet Singh, and he tried to get a story with Kian, and Kian pointed out, strange that this man highlighted in red was running around the hill threatening to charge and arrest the Prime Minister. He begged me to do a story about it. The 2 in blue were undercover cops. Sidearms on the right hip, they escorted him around. So they're using this It was the same guy who accosted Singh. Very few people would do that. No, not many people have that much of a confrontational bone in their body, and people who do have confrontational bones in their body don't do it on a public street like that. If you wanted to do a citizen's arrest, a citizen's arrest of a politician is ridiculous. If you wanted to do something about the politician, you take them on or you get your lawyer or whatever. Like, it's a very high level. Like, if you actually seriously thought that the politician had done something wrong, then you would get a lawyer to mount your case. You go and attack them. Very few people would have the confidence to go up and yell at a politician, and B, actually try and follow through with a citizen's arrest if they were actually serious about the thing that they thought the politician was. And that's giving a lot of credit to crackpots, right? But this guy, not a crackpot, and absolutely being used to justify this decision. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because they're behaving as if it's true. And I'm sure that it was dreamt up by somebody in the PMO or some other back office somewhere that has nothing to do with the PMO, but somebody's last name's Wernick, right? Oh, I just used to work there. Nobody from the PMO's office heard anything about that. They can say, honestly, because the PMO's office fired them. Or they left because, now there's no confidence for making wild speculations, right? Michael Wernick. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating to watch people lie, and lying liars get things like police or heightened security measures, etc. And do I think that Canadian politicians need heightened security measures? No, I probably not. But I don't care all that much, except that the tactics they're using to get there. If they just wanted to provide, if they were just like, it's 2020 and we think that MPs of certain caliber or cabinet ministers should have security, I don't know, then fine. Bring it to the House and have a discussion, make your case. But unilaterally doing it, using this as a backdoor, it just seems undemocratic. It just seems like we're being rolled over, right? And which we are, exactly, right? Yeah. Oh, you finally got there, Mark P. Yeah, exactly. Okay, moving on. This is just, does it surprise you? It doesn't surprise me, but the fact that a lot of people are just fine with it is crazy. Are people going to actually be elected on the "we will fund police and continue to enforce laws and keep the community safe"? Or are we going to have divisive campaigns of police equal bad people and only mental health workers can help? Because I'll tell you, I'm a former mental health worker, and there is zero chance that a mental health worker should be the first on the scene in a crisis situation in the public, because you don't have the controls that you have in like a mental health facility. Like in a mental health facility, you can put your hands on people because everybody's agreed prior to, like, yes, sometimes I get out of control. Yes, sometimes I attack people. Yes, I agree to be restrained if that happens, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes parents sign for their children or whatever. Sometimes whatever it is, the guardianship signs. But in the community, there's none of that. There's none of that. Like you are not able to go in and negotiate with somebody who is having a very hard time at 3:30 in the morning. Drugs, alcohol, they alter your state. It is just unbelievably naive and stupid to believe that a freshly hired or even and these professions have a high turnaround rate. Like you don't last you don't become like a grizzled mental health worker. A grizzled mental health worker is the 29-year-old who's leaving to become a teacher. Okay? Like people leave the profession, and not because the profession doesn't need them anymore, but because the profession is not safe. It's not a great job for a long-term period. It isn't. It's a good job to buy your first house and make sure that you can support yourself to get a different job, but it is not a reliable long-term idea. People, as soon as they're in enough to understand what the job is, they want to leave. These are not the right people to be managing crises, right? Oh, you're 24 and you're going to save the world? All right, buddy, go on up there and talk that guy down. Good luck. Good luck. Goodness me, what we're doing to people. Anyway, Nikki P says, let me get this straight. Crime is rising in Calgary at an alarming rate, and a council votes to lessen the city's security by defunding the very institution that keeps the citizens safe. The logic escapes me. Today, council voted 9-5 to defund the police by $20 million. Voting yes, Nenshi, Kara, Davison, Farrell, Gondik, Keating, Sutherland, Woolley. Voting no, Chu, Kali, Urquhart. Sorry if I got that wrong. Demong, Farkas, and I don't know why I subject myself to reading last names. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll stop doing that. I just think it's terribly, terribly wrong-headed of them to do what they're doing. And there was another article I was going to highlight, but I didn't. But it is an attack from Woolley on Chu, and CTV enthusiastically embraces this attack. They're like, you know what? This Woolley guy, 100% right. Chu, almost the worst thing ever. Right? And like, they don't give Chu a chance to defend himself. It's like all this a whole bunch of stuff that Woolley just says. And I don't know if you can back it up or whatever, but it's a ridiculous piece. I'll see if I can find the link, and I'll put it in the description. Last one for this morning. I've been talking a lot about the money laundering. I think I woke up to the money laundering quickly after I started doing my show. It doesn't take long to run into a money laundering story in BC, especially 2018. So it was a very, it's been something that I've been talking about a lot. And the money laundering is way deeper than I thought it was. It's way more entrenched. Here's Global News. It says, former BC Liberal minister accused of letting gangs launder money in government casinos. Yeah, a former British Columbia RCMP officer testified he was informed in 2009 that Rich Coleman, then minister responsible for gaming, was largely responsible for rampant money laundering related to organized crime in the province's casinos, and that senior BC Mounties were complicit, an inquiry has heard. Shocked, not shocked, right? Like, pick your jaw up off the floor, except that we all knew that already. And it's continued, and it's continuing. It's called the Vancouver method. You know, you can put your money through the washing machine of the casino, buy a little bit of real estate, head back to China, buy some drugs, send them over, finance it all again, right? Vancouver method. Back to this. Fred Pinnock, former commander of BC's anti-illegal gaming unit. All of this anti-illegal, anytime it's like anti-racist, right? Like anti-Semitic, anti-illegal, it seems like it's not actually the thing that it actually says. It's code for something else. Anyway, back to this. Described to the Cullen Commission on Thursday his recollection of allegations that he said then Solicitor General Cash Heed made against Coleman during a private meeting in 2009. Pinnock explained that he had tried to expand his unit's mandate and resources to attack gangs that he believed were out of control in BC Lottery Corporation casinos. But his superiors in the RCMP and his partners at the Gaming Policy and Enforcement Branch didn't support his objective, he said. I felt it was a charade and I don't feel my superiors cared, Pinnock testified. Public safety was not a priority of my superiors with respect to gaming. He said his frustration and friction with the gaming regulator led to his taking a medical leave in December 2007. 2007! But according to Yumoto, he said Coleman About a year later, he said his former unit was disbanded by the BC Liberal government, and he was so disturbed by it that he tried to meet with Coleman to convey his concerns about gang activity in casinos, sending the message through his then girlfriend, BC Liberal MLA Naomi Yamoto. Sorry if I've got that wrong. But according to Yamoto, he said Coleman reacted by rebuking her in front of party caucus. It was in a group setting, and she described his reaction as brutal and dismissive and embarrassing. Pinnock told the inquiry, and my conclusion is he did not want to be told about the casino concerns. Pinnock said he followed up by providing an interview to a BC media outlet in 2009, which he accused the RCMP and BC government of willful blindness to increasing gang activity in lottery corporation casinos. And it's continued to this day. Right? Story closed. What's going to happen? They don't have the resources. They keep systemically removing the resources to investigate. Sounds like the Auditor General and at the federal level as well. And when things inevitably come out, they tend to get buried, or the cases collapse, or a lot gets hung on the case, like, oh, this is the biggest case in this category, and it's going to be precedent setting, and then the case never sees the light of day, right? It just collapses and nothing's going to happen. So how do you fight it in that kind of environment? Let me know in the comments, because I don't know. I don't know. What do? You carry on. You move out of Vancouver and you cede the land and territory to whoever can purchase it, because it's not people who work there anymore, because the money has become completely uncoupled from, like the cost of the real estate has become completely uncoupled with the jobs in the area. It's wild. It's a wild ride, right? So you move to Alberta, right? Keep moving away from Vancouver. That's it. And BC in general. That's it. You lose, right? Yahtzee. It's frustrating. Anyway, sorry for being late today. And thanks for watching, everybody. I guess that's the end of the show. Usually I wrap it all up, but I'm just frustrated and haven't had time to let it all, I don't know, ferment in my head. I guess that's the word I was looking for. But I still did a long show. It's longer than I thought. I thought it was only going to be 21 minutes. So thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com, check out CanadaReport.co, check out SpeakingMoistly.co, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'll be at my usual time tomorrow, probably. But it might be a shorter show because I've got all this extra stuff I added in today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.